I'm ready.
All right, guys. Welcome to another episode of The Final Whistle. We're back again. And as always, when we return, you know there's something brewing. And today I got Ibn, I got Yaga.
Guys.
And hey, there is a lot going on, to say the least. We're going to start with, obviously, with everything that's going on in the world, with Russia invading Ukraine and a lot of sanctions that's been going on and being put down by the U.S. and Europe. And we see all the news that's going on. But now, because Chelsea has a Russian owner, guys, we are involved in this, and we're involved in the sanctions. Now, early in the week, our owner, Roman Abramovich, got sanctioned by the Premier League, right? Oh, well, the UK government in beginning. So his assets got frozen. And the crazy part about what happened was, honestly, when it first came out, and I know, Yaga, you posted something about, as we were saying, the investigation came out that Roman Abramovich, because he has ties, he's a Russian oligarch, and he's involved in Russia's business, and he has connection to Putin, right? It came out that he's been investigated. Now, Wednesday, the sanctions came out that his assets are frozen. Now, Chelsea being one of his biggest assets in England, it's frozen, which meant that we can't buy players, we can't sign players, we can't re-sign players. Even the club shop is being closed because we can't get income into the club, right? And income, because he's the owner, directly or indirectly goes to him. So there's a lot of sanctions that have been brought down from Wednesday when it first happened. And honestly, when it first happened and he gave control of the club to the charity, the Chelsea charity or whatever, I honestly thought that this is something that it's a temporary, let everything cool down, and by the summer he gets control of his club back. Now, I didn't expect it to escalate as it did. On Thursday, the sanctions come down right before Chelsea plays, and like the things that I've listed, seems like Friday it comes out that Chelsea's accounts have been frozen or suspended, or they can't spend money on fuel to get the players to the games, and essentially the club can't spend money, right? So it seemed like a lot of things were happening.
A certain amount.
Yeah, exactly. And then there was like, we can spend about a certain amount for home games and a certain amount for away games, and depending on how much the cost is and how far we're going in Europe, we might not even be able to afford flights to take the players over. Like, the whole thing was a lot, right? Before I get into what I think, Ibn, as a Chelsea fan, I kind of want to get your thoughts on what you think about how this, essentially, this sanctions and how the UK government is treating the club and treating Abramovich. Because, to be honest, right, if I understand that if with all the things that's going on and every Russian company is being sanctioned, and anybody that is an oligarch or has ties to Russia is being sanctioned, that is okay. And that if there is any proof that he has any interference or any influence in Russia invading Ukraine, that is fine. He everything that is happening to him is deserved, right? If he would have to sell the club, because that's not, it's a fair punishment if he's involved. I think where it pushes it over the edge is when they start to ban the club shop and then ban players from, the team from actually spending, and then sponsorships are being suspended. I think that's when they start to go overboard, especially when they have frozen his assets already. Like, what do you think about the situation that has started and your thoughts on that?
So I am a firm believer of being innocent until proven guilty. And you cannot really say that being an associate with someone directly means that they have an influence of the decisions that they do make or take. Granted, Abramovich has been a great influence on our club, investing all this money and being about bringing about transformation to the club. Again, we have a culture now, or identity, where if you're not performing, you're out the door, and that has been something that's made us a successful club. Now, to your question as to is it the fair judgment as to placing the sanction on Abramovich? Absolutely not. As I said before, someone is innocent until proven guilty. Him being Russian and him being a owner of the football club, there are two different things. you should be able to distinguish between politics and football. So if you're playing football and I have a property, which is my football team that brings an income for me, and you're going to sanction it, be able to put in place things that doesn't affect the football club because, again, fans are involved. And at the end of it all, it's not just fans that are from London. It's not just fans that are from Russia. It's globally. So if you're going to be doing some things like that, I don't think it's a fair assessment because, again, when the initial stages of this whole thing started happening, I believe the remarks given in the parliament with Boris Johnson's assessment was actually incorrect. So he was basically like fact checked at that moment, and he had to basically write like an apology letter. I don't know if that even came about. And they kept putting their eye on Chelsea over and over and over again, trying to find loopholes of things that might not be even relevant to what's happening in Ukraine. And again, my condolences and my support also goes out to the families that are being separated out of Ukraine and whatnot. I pray that everything comes back to normal for them, and I pray that Putin can kind of like reverse back to his normal sense and revert from doing any of this mess that he's trying to cause in this world. But in a nutshell, what I would say is someone has to be, if you're going to accuse somebody of something, you need to have your facts right. And if someone has an affiliation or an association with someone, you cannot automatically assume that they do have an influence on the decision that they make without having your facts. That's what I can speak to.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about this early in the morning, especially when it happened. We spoke on the phone about it, and you had some thoughts on that. I'd like to hear what did you think specifically on the sanctions alone, and then we move on. Because I'm in the understanding that honestly, the sanctioning Abramovich was the right thing to do. Abramovich decided to sell the club, I think was the right thing to do because he's done everything, he's won everything, and it seemed like it was the right time to part with the club. But now I think the Premier League and then the UK government are just overdoing it. Like, what do you think of that? Yeah, I got frozen again. I'll wait for him to come.
But let's have a dialogue real quickly. So, I mean, I know you kind of like mentioned it a little bit as to what.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, I mean, so basically when it happened, I think when was this? Earlier this week, I think I called you and we spoke about it. If his involvement is actually true, right? As far as the Russian government and whatever they're doing is true, then of course he's supposed to be sanctioned, his access is supposed to be frozen and all of that. But then I think whatever is going on is real personal with Chelsea at this point, because if you've frozen his account and all of that, that's his personal, business. Why are you guys merging the personal business with the club's business? Because I don't think when it comes to the expenditure of the club, whatever the club spends and all that is in direct link to his account, right? I don't think so. So the fact that you guys can operate your store, the fact that you guys cannot even buy gas for your bus and all that, it's just crazy to me. And I think it's important that they find a solution to what is going on with the club. Now, if whatever he's going through has direct link to whatever is happening to Russia and Ukraine, then I think it's right for them to sanction him, but not to the club directly. That's my personal opinion about the whole thing going on. I mean, what does his affiliation with Russia has to do with his football club?
Yeah. Because the thing is, you kind of want, there's no, they don't have proof yet, right? So being sanctioned they just kind of seem like, okay, because to be fair, anything dealing with Russia is being sanctioned, regardless of if you have anything to do with them or not, right? So companies are being banned. We're not buying oil, and Russian teams are being banned from Europe and from World Cup qualifiers. There's a lot of things that's going on that has nothing to do. But the idea of what is being done and these sanctions, which I agree with, is you putting pressure on Putin to, act and stop this, nonsense that's going on, right? Because if you don't do anything and you just let Russian oligarchs just living their life freely, there's no pressure on Putin and his advisors to do something. That's why the GDP of Russia is going down and and the economy is crumbling because of all these sanctions. My issue is that if you're going to sanction it, you can sanction Abramovich, right, without having to try to. It seemed like a witch hunt to me, the way that they're doing the Chelsea thing, because it went overboard when that what do you call it? The Chelsea credit card was frozen where they can't buy fuel. That's the one that I was.
I think they were able to use it later on that day.
Yeah. That is when I mean them closing the club store and then having people unemployed because people actually work at this club store. These are people that have to make a living.
And the sponsors pulling out. It's just
yeah, like we can't sell tickets. We can't sell tickets to fans anymore because the income is going to Abramovich because he's the owner. But if his assets are frozen and he has agreed to sell it, why does that even matter? Like, exactly. Why does selling it doesn't make any sense?
I think it's personal. I just at this point is an attack on the club. I think Ferdinand said that yesterday. It's just because we are hearing all these things, okay, selling tickets and all of that. It doesn't go directly to Abramovich. I think it goes to the club. So it's two different things, right? Maybe we don't know, but if it's two different entities, if Abramovich has his own account and the club has his own account, what are selling tickets got to do with?
Abramovich gives Chelsea more money than we give him. We owe the dude $1.5 billion. Like, if he's not taking any money out of Chelsea. But even go ahead. Listen,
it's just a personal attack on the club, and I just think it's unfortunate that this is happening. Hopefully, this thing going on will be situated very soon. Because I don't know how long the players can handle it. I don't know how, because now it's uncertainty all around the club. The staff, people working and all of that. So
yeah, but we'll talk about that aspect later, right? Mm-hmm. And after the debate, Ibn, let me get your thoughts real quick before we move on to what's next with the players and the staff.
Absolutely. So to the point that you're making in terms of like the sanctions and the extra that comes over it, Abramovich himself actually made mention that all the proceeds that he's going to get from the tickets. So should we have the opportunity to like sell tickets, where we even going to be donated to like survivors of the war. So the point right now is, why exactly would you sanction someone, again, if you don't really have like a solid proof, like, he's part of like, he's influencing Putin to basically start a war? That's why I don't really get. And to Yaga's point, like, it's really personal now. Like, there's two different entities. You have the club by itself, and you have the businessman by itself. And if you're going to sanction the businessman, just sanction the businessman. Don't get involved in the football aspect, because it's two different worlds. Like, you cannot be doing that. It causes a lot of like chaos and a lot of like trauma for fans.
So, the whole Roman Abramovich thing going on, they've been trying to get him for a long time. Okay? So this is not the first time. They've been trying to get him for a long time. My issue here is, if you guys knew he was an oligarch when he tried to buy Chelsea back in 2003, right? Why did you guys give him the go-ahead, right? Because this guy, no matter what you say about him, he came to London, central London or whatever it is, created job opportunities for a lot of people. So you guys knew he was an oligarch back then. You gave him the go-ahead. And ever since then, you've been trying to target this man for a long time. So this is not just this case happening right now. It's just that this case just gave them the upper hand to go ahead and go all out for him. You get what I'm trying to say?
Something, yeah. Because you could tell. You could tell, right, Yaga? Because the way that it's being, it seems like you said, wasn't there an issue with the passport where you couldn't get into the UK?
Yeah. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's been ongoing for a long time. It's just that
this is like just 2-3 years ago.
Perfect opportunity for them to just go ahead because they know he has good affiliations with Putin. That's what it is.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, if you're gonna do that to Chelsea, then didn't they just give a go ahead to the Saudi guys to buy Newcastle?
But that's the problem. So,
am I missing something here?
I don't want us to go into politics, right? Because if you want to go, we could talk about a lot of things. Because this thing is going on with Israel, with Palestine, with Saudi Arabia, and all of that. And these guys are still buying clubs. So that's what I'm saying. It's just personal. That's what I think.
Yeah. But
that's what I think.
Moving on, right? Moving on from, it seems like hopefully the club is being bought. It's on sale. It's for sale now. I think Abramovich has agreed to sell the club, which is fine. Now, Evan, this is huge. This sale of the club is huge. And let me tell you guys, right? Chelsea has been successful, and there's no secret about it. Chelsea has been very, very successful because of Roman Abramovich's money, right? And as unfair, as lack of parity as it is in the Premier League, the amount of money that you have dictates your success. If you're not spending money in the transfer market, you are not going to be a successful club, right? And we've seen that across the board. We've seen that with Man City when they started, when they got the new owners. PSG's doing the same thing, like even Liverpool has started to spend some money, signing like Van Dijk and all these. So we know how much how important having money is. That now, like I said before, Chelsea owed this man $1.5 billion that he actually put into the club, right? So as a club, we don't generate that kind of money, organically, where we can spend that kind of money that we spend. That is so pivotal, and I can't say this enough how important this sale is, because whoever buys this club has to be the right guy for Chelsea. He has to be the right man where he is buying it not for a profit, and he's buying it not to be cheap. Because in order to compete, you're going to have to spend money, right? You're going to have to spend big money to compete with the Cities, the Liverpools, and the Uniteds of the world. Who I do not want this process of selling the club rushed, and it seems like that's what the Premier League and the UK government is doing. I want to make sure that they are they are accepting the right bid by the right person that can take this club forward, because we've seen how management and lack thereof, or lack of ownership, and we just saw how bad Mike Ashley was as Newcastle owner, and Arsenal had issues where they weren't competitive in the market because their owner wasn't trying to spend money. Like, it's so important to get the right ownership, right? And if we do not get the right ownership as a club, I could see us going downhill. I could see us, because if you're not getting money in, and the club or the club is more worried about how much profit they can make instead of actually investing in the squad, like Abramovich has done. Now, we're not going to get another Abramovich. That's out the window. Like, it's one of one where an owner loves the club so much that he puts his own money into the club. I think Chelsea has the right people, like working for the board, and Marina and Bruce Buck and all these, these people that work for the club, right? They're the right people. But if we do not get the right ownership, where they see the team as taking profit and want to over commercialize it like PSG is doing, and instead they are actual football people with an idea of an attitude of winning. That is the most important thing. So this sale is huge, because if we get it wrong and we get the wrong ownership in, right, we could be in trouble, where we could see ourselves, not being competitive in the market. And as unfair as it is, like I said, being competitive in the market is the main thing to success in this game. And last point, to make sure that if you're not competitive in the market and you start ending up 5th and 6th and playing Europa League, you end up not being even in the market for the big players, right? So Chelsea has been able to build themselves up by being competitive, and that's how we're able to sign big-time players to big-time wages to help them win. This is very, very important, and I just hope that Abramovich and whoever is in charge of, I just don't want the UK government being in charge of the sale, because they're going to end up selling it to whoever they think is more moral, right? A moral person, instead of a person who actually wants the club to, wants the best for the club, right? So that's where I am with it. I want to make sure that we are in the right frame of mind, whoever is in charge of selling this club, because this is so pivotal. If we get it wrong, we can see ourselves fighting for 5th, 6th, 7th, and not the Premier League.
I know that's what Yaga's actually hoping for, and
listen, no. See, let me tell you guys something. Now, as far as you just made a valid point.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Yaga, you're mute.
Whoever is buying the club is buying the club to make profit, right? Let's just get that straight. Whoever is buying the club is buying the club to make profit. Now, if you compare the Cronkies, if you compare the Glazers, they're making money off the club. But is the club being successful? No. So, for instance, if you look at United, for instance, when it comes to the commercial aspect, they make a lot of money, right? And that goes directly to the owners and all of that. The same thing for Arsenal as well. So, as you said, there's never going to be another Roman. You just have to hope. But then how would you even know whoever's buying the club is going to be the perfect guy? who loves the club as his own and whatever. You get what I'm trying to say? It's going to be difficult because whoever's coming in is seeing Chelsea as a business opportunity to make profit. I don't think unless maybe, the club is being bought by the fans and all of that. And that is a whole different, aspect of selling a club. So I don't know how this is going to go, but I think whoever is coming to buy Chelsea is coming in with a mindset of making profit in a commercial aspect, not what you guys are doing on the pitch. So it's a difficult situation because the Glazers are making a lot of money from United, but we're not producing. Hiring the wrong people and just buying players, whatever, but then they're not focused on what is going on the pitch. The Glazers have never been to a game at Old Trafford. Never. You know what I'm trying to say? They bought a club back in 2005. Okay, they've never been to a home game. So that's how crazy it is.
Crazy. I didn't know that.
And they're making a lot of money. You get what I'm trying to say? So it's just about who's going to buy the club. Is the person coming in to make profit or not? And we spoke about how American owners don't understand how the game is in England, the passion and all of that. They don't get it. This is different for Americans. It's different for other people. So let's just hope it lands in the right, hands. Because if not,
who is less just? So I feel like he's saying that less just. Like, who's less? Go ahead, Evan.
It's going to be a problem.
Exactly. And the reality of the matter is, we don't even have enough time to make all of, less decide or less hope. Right now is a crucial moment, right? So we will all be hopeful to see that, someone will come in with, some sort of, mentality that keeps the same culture that we have or even improve our team culture. Because again, when I first spoke, I made mention that we do have a culture because of what Abramovich believes in. If you're not performing, you're out the door. So,
and the funny thing is, I'm sorry to cut you off, but then Jeff made a good statement about the fact that you have the right people to run the club. Now, whoever is buying the club might also come with his own people.
Exactly.
It's not going to just change. It could change any. So, you get what I'm trying to say? You have Maria, you have Peter Cech and all of that. But whoever is buying the club, if it's a conglomerate or whatever, they'll come with their own people. So which means that you're about to replace the people who have held the club in a certain standard. So it's just a dicey situation at this point.
That's what I'm really worried about. I'm really worried
hopefully
about
nothing changes.
Exactly, because we really built our success on the things that Abramovich did. I mean, at some point we didn't really like the decisions that he took. I mean, I'm not even going to get into him because my personal.
You can't even question his decisions. Exactly. Every decision he's made.
But that's the point, though. I'm
question that.
Exactly, but that's my point. That's why I did say I'm not even going to get into it because those are personal things, and I actually saw the outcomes of them. So what I'm trying to actually emphasize here is that whoever the new owner is going to be at Chelsea, they need to be able to not speak but act, make us know this is our team culture going forward. Because if things are going to change, is it going to change for the worse, or is it going to even get even better from here? Because I don't think there's going to be an owner, as Jeff said, that's going to be able to replicate exactly what Abra did. I don't think.
Yeah, and it's not going to happen. And now we have to bear in mind too, right? This is not a smooth transition. Okay, so
exactly.
Roman has no say as to who's buying the club. Now, if let's say Roman feels okay, listen, it's 20 years, almost 20 years, I'm done. I just want to sell it to the right owner. Then that's when you guys would have taken your time and make sure it goes into the right hands. But that's not what is going on right now. So now whoever comes in, and as Jeff said, they check the person's portfolio. Okay, this is the right person. He has the money. Boom, you're gonna sell the club to the person, and that is not good at all.
No. And guys, you know what's actually interesting? Whoever buys the club, we're talking about £3 billion or $3 billion or whatever it is. Who spends $3 billion and still has money to, to be competitive in the market? After you spend $3 billion, you have to
it's gonna take some time.
It's gonna take some time to actually start it, because obviously he's not gonna pay straight $3 billion cash. It's has to be installments, right? Mm-hmm. It's not. They're not gonna pay. So if he's paying, I don't know, 250 million every, because remember, Abramovich bought Chelsea for 150 million. That's why he was able to pump so much money into it, right? So this is also gonna be interesting. Regarding Chelsea, right? Because of the sanctions that they can't sign new players, Rudiger signed the contract. I mean, his contract runs out in June. Christensen's contract runs out in June.
Isn't he already gone?
Queta's contract runs out in June. both Aspilicueta and Rudiger has been linked to Barcelona, right? And then we have Rudiger, who's been linked with Real Madrid, I think Bayern as well. Like there are big teams coming for the guy, which, I mean, yeah, for sure, United, but there has been, he's a big time player, right? So obviously there's gonna be a lot of interest. Chelsea left this late. They left it like
the guy wanted the money.
Obviously, they didn't think that it was going to get this. I do think, however, that Rudiger would like to stay at the club because if he wanted to leave, he would have signed a pre-contract already. Like he's hoping that the contract situation resolves itself, and there's no point of signing the contract now when you can sign it in June. The same team that wants you now won't say that, oh, we don't want you again in June or July, right? So
is it about money? Because I think you guys made an offer. You just didn't take it.
It has to be. It can't be anything else.
Okay, so why won't you give him what? He's one of the best defenders in the world.
So Yaga, let me say this, right? What I'm hoping for is that Chelsea hear him out. They wait for the contract. I mean, time to go by, and then offer him the money. Well, that's what I think is going to happen. Right, because I think that they're going to end up paying him, but I just don't know. We don't know the figures. We don't know if he wants to be the best paid. He's looking at Van Dijk's number and then
rightfully so.
But he does deserve it because
he does.
You cannot pick three. I mean, him, Diaz, Van Dijk. I mean, you cannot pick 3-4 defenders that are better than this dude, right?
Yeah,
at this right now.
And when it comes to Bayern, I'm not scared of Bayern signing him. Because if it's about money, Bayern wouldn't pay. Okay, so we could throw Bayern out. If it's about money, they wouldn't pay that amount.
No, but Bayern has let a lot of people off their books, so they do have
the money.
But he doesn't do that. Khan wouldn't do that. I don't think they'll. If anybody would get him,
it's PSG. It's PSG too.
I don't think he's gonna go to PSG. Who the guy is?